It's one thing to be an undefeated boxer, but it's another thing to quit when absolutely no one expected you to. These athletes prove that it's to be incredibly passionate about a sport, but also have to quit early. Here are 10 boxers that quit at the height of their careers. First up, Terry Marsh. England's Terry Marsh made this list in his second last career pro fight when he stopped Joe Manley for the IBF Junior welterweight title in April of 2007. Marsh then defended it 4 months later with the 7th round knockout of Akio Kameda and duly hung up his gloves with a near-perfect record of 26-0-1 with 10 KO. The only blemish on his record was an 8-round draw with Lloyd Christie in 1982. Although Marsh had a fine amateur career, was a European champion, and went undefeated as a pro, he didn't take on any elite opponents during his career from 1981 to 1987. The former Royal Marine suffers from epilepsy and quit boxing because of that. He recently took up the hybrid sport of chess boxing, becoming a welterweight champion. If that's not impressive enough, he's also dabbled in acting and politics. Next, Jiwan Kim. Jiwan Kim hails from South Korea and was a boxing star in the amateurs with several gold medals to his name in various tournaments across the globe. The Southpaw turned pro in 1982, won a few regional titles, and then stopped fellow countryman Sa Sung-ying for the IBF super bantamweight title in January of 1985. Kim defended the championship 4 times, 3 by KO and 3 times against ex-world champs, before retiring as the undefeated belt holder at the end of 1986. His biggest wins were against Bobby Berna, Sa Sung-ying, Rudy Casillas, and Ruben Palacios. The reason Kim walked away from pro boxing after just 4 years was to sing and act in theater. He didn't win all his bouts, though, as Kim fought to a pair of 10-round draws with Neftali Alamak early in his career and went 16-0-2 with 7 knockouts. Now we have Mihal Lu. Mihal Lu was born in Romania but fought his entire pro career out of Germany, and that's why he also went by the name Michael Low. Lu was a 4-time national champion as an amateur with a record of 190-10, and then fought professionally from 1991 to 1997 with the mark of 28-0 with 10 KOs. He won the vacant WBO welterweight championship in 1997 by decision over Santiago Samaniego. Lu defended the belt 7 months later by majority decision over Michael Carruth, and that was the end of his pro boxing days. Unfortunately, he didn't take on any elite opponents during his career. He had suffered an injury which wouldn't allow him to box anymore, but then followed in his father's and brother's footsteps by turning to rally driving. He became quite good at it and later won a Romanian national championship. We're going to travel back in time now to another era of boxing to visit Jimmy the Little Tiger Berry of Chicago. Berry fought from 1891 to 1899 with an official record of 59-0-10 with 40 KOs. Berry boxed to 10 draws in his career, including each of one of his last 9 fights. He won the vacant World Bantamweight title in December 1894 and retired as the undefeated king in September 1899. Walter Crute, one of Berry's opponents, died the day after their bout in December 1897, and the champion was charged with manslaughter. However, the charges were dropped after examinations revealed Crute's death was caused when his head bounced off the floor after being knocked down. The tragedy then resulted in the introduction of the padded ring canvas. Berry felt terrible about Crute and fought 10 times after the accident with just 1 win. Up next, Dimitri Perag. Dimitri Perag of Russia had a relatively short pro career from 2005 to 2012. He retired due to a back problem, but managed to go 20-0 with 15 KOs. He also got his hands on the WBO middleweight championship in 2010 and held on to it for 2 years. Perag reportedly went 200-30 as an amateur and won several regional pro belts before meeting Daniel Jacobs for the vacant WBO middleweight championship in July 2010. Jacobs was the clear favorite, but Perag pulled off a huge shock by stopping the unbeaten American in the 5th round. He defended the title 3 times and was then stripped of it for opting to meet fellow champion Gennady Golovkin rather than defend it against Hassan Dom Nikam, who was the WBO's interim champ. Unfortunately, Perag retired before meeting Golovkin, but his biggest wins came over Jacobs, Nobuhiro Ishida, Gennady Martin Rosen, and Kofi Gentua. Next up is Jack McAuliffe. Like Jack Berry, Jack McAuliffe of Cork, Ireland, boxed in the late 19th century. He was a lightweight who fought in America from 1885 to 1897 with an official ring record of 28-0-10 with 20 KOs. He also fought many more unofficial bouts and was known as the Napoleon of the ring. Berry was recognized as the very first lightweight champion of the world between 1886 and 1893. The Hall of Famer started out in the amateur ranks 2 years before turning pro. Boxing was a lot different in that era, as McAuliffe often fought more than 20 rounds, with his longest bout being recorded at 64 rounds. McAuliffe was the first world champion to go undefeated when he decided he'd had enough in 1897. Up next on our list is Edwin Valero. Edwin Valero of Venezuela lived a short, tragic life, but accomplished a lot in the ring before it ended at the age of 28 in 2010. He turned professional in 2002 after an excellent amateur career at 86-5 with 57 KOs, and managed to go 27-0 as a pro with every fight ending in a knockout. The Southpaw was also the first boxer in history to start his pro career at 18-0 with 18 first-round knockouts. Valero won the WBA super featherweight title in 2006 by stopping Vicente Masquerin and defended it 4 times. He then moved up to lightweight and won the vacant WBC belt against Antonio Pitulua. Valero defended against Hector Velasquez and Antonio DeMarco before things fell apart. He was arrested in March 2010 for allegedly assaulting his wife, but Valero has said she had fallen down the stairs. The boxer was sent for psychiatric treatment and just a month later was hauled in for murdering his wife. Valero reportedly admitted the killing and hung himself in his cell early the next day. Next, Sven Atkin. Another excellent amateur boxer who turned pro and went unbeaten was 3-time Olympian Sven Atkin of Germany. He went 256-47-5 as an amateur and then compiled a record of 34 and 0 losses, with 6 KOs as a pro from 1997 to 2004. He didn't have much in the way of power, but Atkin's boxing skills enabled him to win the WBA, Super, and IBF super middleweight titles and reign as a world champion for 6 years while retiring with both belts. Atkin defended his championships a total of 21 times with wins over the likes of Armand Krajnik, Robin Reed, Byron Mitchell, Joe Gotti, Thomas Tate, Charles Brewer, Anthony Munden, and Glenn Johnson. He also beat up some top opponents as an amateur, including future world champions Michael Moore, Chris Bird, and Antonio Tarver. Now, Joe Calzagi. The Southpaw was born in London, England, but moved to Wales when he was a toddler. He started boxing as a 9-year-old and went 112-10 as an amateur. He turned pro in 1993 and didn't hang up his gloves until 2008. Along the way, Calzagi racked up a perfect record of 46-0 with 32 KOs. The Pride of Wales won the vacant WBO super middleweight title with the win over Chris Eubank in October 1997, and would later add the IBF, WBC, and WBA super versions of the belt. He is the longest reigning champion in the history of the 160-pound division and defended his title 21 times before moving up to light heavyweight for his last 2 bouts. Calzagi then beat Bernard Hopkins for the Ring Magazine title and defended against Roy Jones Jr. before retiring. As a super middleweight, the Hall of Famer beat some fine boxers such as Robin Reed, Omar Sika, Mario Veit, Charles Brewer, Byron Mitchell, Jeff Lacey, and Mikkel Kessler. Up next, Ricardo Lopez. Mexico's Ricardo El Finito Lopez was one of the great little men in boxing and also arguably has the best record of 13 undefeated champions. He fought from 1985 to 2001 with a near-perfect mark of 51-0-1 with 38 KOs. He won the WBC and lineal minimum weight titles in 1999 when he stopped Japan Hideyuki Ohashi of Japan in the 5th round in Tokyo. Lopez then went on to defend his belt 21 times to set a new record for the division. The Hall of Famer added the WBO minimum weight crown in 1997 with a knockout over Alex Sanchez and beat Rosendo Alvarez the next year to win the WBA version of the title. In his very next fight, he moved up to light flyweight and captured the IBF crown in that division. Lopez defended it twice and then retired as one of boxing's all-time great champions. In addition, he went unbeaten in the amateurs and became the first man to never lose a bout in his career, while his 26 title bouts without defeat are a record shared with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Joe Louis. That's a wrap for this video. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.